In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the offline AI text-to-speech software called Tortoise Text-to-Speech. The main function of this AI is to convert simple text into audio speech in the English language. As of today, only English and Japanese languages are supported. Probably in future updates, additional languages will be added. But for now, let's talk about how to generate speech from text. Remember, it does not require an internet connection. It works 100% offline. That's why you don't need an internet connection to create a speech. By using this AI, you can generate speech for as long as you want without limitations or the expiration of the software. There are 3 methods on how you can generate speech, depending on where you need to use the voice. Choose the method that suits your workflow. Method 1. Generate a random voice. Mostly, male voices are generated here. This method is very useful if you do not have a specific person's voice that you want to clone right now. The software will randomly generate a voice of a person depending on the seed you use in generating a voice. Method 2. Mimic the voice of any real person. This method is useful if you have a voice of a real person that you want to copy. Unlike the random voice generation in Method 1, this method will always give you the exact same person's voice every time you generate speech. Method 3. Train the AI to learn the provided person's voice, tonality, accent, pause, breathing, and many more. This is the best method for cloning the voice if you want to get the most accurate representation of any person's voice you provide. The only downside to this method is that it requires the AI to train to learn a new voice. It will also create another AI model of about 1.7 gigabytes in size, meaning that for every new voice you train, it will generate another 1.7 gigabytes for every person's voice. Now that you understand the 3 methods of voice generation, it's up to you to decide which method you would prefer to use for your project. Method number 1. Generating random voices. Simply paste the prompt into the input prompt. Choose a voice randomly from the list. As you can see here, there are no other voices available. This is what you will see on your software if it's the first time you are using this AI. You will need to add those voices manually using Method 2 or Method 3. Now that you have selected a voice, let's ensure the correct AI model is chosen from the settings. Go to Settings and make sure the autoregressive AI model is selected. Take note, for Method 1 and Method 2, the model must be autoregressive. What is this? It is the default AI model trained using thousands of hours of voices from different people. That's why this AI model is very good at copying or generating random voices. The downside of this AI model is that it will not always give you the best accuracy of voice since it was trained using thousands of hours of voices from different people. Chances are, the AI may use a voice of a different person. That's why we have Method 3. In Method 3, we are going to train our own AI model using only a specific person's voice. In return, this kind of AI model will be able to give you the most accurate voice result compared to Method 1 and Method 2 of generating voice. But since we are just creating random voices right now, let's make sure the autoregressive AI model is selected here. Now let's go back to the Generate tab, and we may press the Generate button.
This is a tutorial on how to download the installer in TeraBox. This is a tutorial on how to download the installer in TeraBox.
As you can see, it randomly generated a female voice. Let's try pressing the Generate button again to see if it will generate a different voice this time.
This is a tutorial on how to download the installer in TeraBox.
As you can see, it just generated a similar voice. Why? It is because we have set the seed to 999. Sometimes you can use this seed if you find a voice that is what you are looking for. Just use the same seed again, and you will get a similar voice almost all the time. Unfortunately, not all the time it gives a similar voice. That's why I can say that Method 1 is not a reliable way to generate voice compared to Method 2 and Method 3. Let's try changing the seed by leaving it empty and see if we can generate a different voice this time. By leaving this empty, the software will automatically generate a random seed for you.
This is a tutorial on how to download the installer in TeraBox.
As you can see, it already has a different seed, and it also generated a different voice. Let's try to copy this seed and try to generate again using a similar seed to this to see if it will be able to generate a voice similar to this one.
This is a showcase and tutorial on how to create speech from any text box. Remember, there is no limit to how many can hear, even if it's an entire book that you want to create a speech from.
I'm not sure if it was a similar voice as before, but one thing I notice is that it is not reading the words correctly, especially the words text box and character.
This is a showcase and tutorial on how to create speech from any text box. Remember, there is no limit to how many can hear, even if it's an entire book that you want to create a speech from.
It only shows that this AI model is not reliable or accurate, unlike Method 3, which we will discuss at the end of this video. Let's try generating with the seed 999 again. Remember the last time we used it, it was a female voice. Let's see if it will generate a female voice again.
This is a showcase and tutorial on how to create speech from any text you type into this text box. Remember, there is no limit to how many characters you want to enter here, even if it's an entire book that you want to create a speech from. This is a showcase and tutorial on how to create speech from any text you type into this text box. Remember, there is no limit to how many characters you want to enter here, even if it's an entire book that you want to create a speech from.
As you can see, it doesn't sound like a female voice to me at all. Although it read all the words correctly, the voice generated was not similar to what was generated before. That's why this method 1 of generating voice is really not reliable. It's up to you whether you want to use this method. Now let's go to Method 2 on how to generate voice. Method 2. In Method 2, we will mimic the voice of an actual person. To accomplish this, you will need an audio file in WAV format. Note that you don't need 3 separate WAV files for this. A single audio file ranging from 1 to a maximum of 10 minutes in length will suffice. Remember, the audio must be in WAV format and can have any name, as long as the WAV file is inside a folder named after the person's voice, such as what we have here. Emma is the name of this voice. Additionally, the voice must be free of background music, noise, or any other interference.
Tom's Diner seems like it would be a good karaoke song, just surely for the fact that you can't get it out of your head, so it's kind of... Tom's Diner seems like it would be a good karaoke song, just surely for the fact that Tom's Diner seems like it would be a good... I always thought it would be the 20s, but then I realized that it's kind of easy to idealize times.
It should be a clean recording with no other voices in the background. If needed, you can use my other AI model, which can effectively separate the voice from any audio. The product of this AI is called the AI-powered tool to extract vocals from any audio, and you can find the link to this product in the video description. Now that you have the WAV file inside the folder, all you need to do is move or copy the folder. All you need to do is move or copy the folder. Navigate to your AI voice cloning folder and locate the Voices folder. Open it and you should see the random folder, indicating that you are in the correct folder location. Now, paste the folder we just copied here. Remember, the WAV files must be inside this Emma folder. Once everything is in place, let's return to our text-to-speech software. Click the Refresh Voice List button to make sure the Emma voice appears in the voice list. Again, just like in Method 1, ensure that the autoregressive AI model is selected. In this case, it is still selected, indicating that we are good to go. Now, press the Generate button, and you should get a result with a voice similar to the provided WAV file.
This is a showcase and tutorial on how to create speech from any text you type into this text box. Remember, there is no limit to how many characters you want to enter here, even if it's an entire book that you want to create a speech from. This is a showcase and tutorial on how to create speech from any text you type into this text box. Remember, there is no limit to how many characters you want to enter here, even if it's an entire book that you want to create a speech from.
As you can see, generating a female voice is now easier. In Method 1, obtaining a female voice was rare, but in Method 2, it is achievable. Let's listen to the original voice and see if it successfully mimicked the voice.
Tom's Diner seems like it would be a good karaoke song, just surely for the fact that you can't get it out of your head, so it's kind of... Tom's Diner seems like it would be...
This is a showcase and tutorial on how to create speech from any text you type into this text box. Remember, there is no limit to how many characters you want to enter here, even if it's an entire book that you want to create a speech from.
You are the judge. Note that this is not the most accurate voice cloning method.
Like a fish inside of a chicken,
We still have
smoking a
Method
cigarette.
3,
I once read that
which is
I
the
look-
best among the rest. Okay, let's try mimicking different voices this time.
You also may have heard that the release of the film has been delayed due to public health concerns. But there's this scene that's my favorite. And, you know, the producers have been kind enough to let me show it tonight. So let's take a look. You also may have heard that this next James Bond film is going to be my last. But it's going to be one of the best. Because
Copy the Daniel folder into the Voices folder once again. Return to the Text to Speech web page menu and press the Refresh Voice List button. Select the Daniel voice from the voice list and double-check that the auto-regression AI model is selected. Press the Generate button again.
This is a showcase and tutorial on how to create speech from any text you type into this text box. Remember, there is no limit to how many characters you want to enter here, even if it's an entire book that you want to create a speech from. This is a showcase and tutorial on how to create speech from any text you type into this text box. Remember, there is no limit to how many characters you want to enter here, even if it's an entire book that you want to create a speech from.
It's up to you to judge the accuracy of the voice. Feel free to experiment with different settings. And that's all for Method 2. Let's now proceed to our last method for generating a voice. Method 3. Training an AI model to learn a new specific voice. Let's revisit the Voices folder. Let's delete the previous method voices so we can start again from scratch, minimizing confusion. I'll revert it back to random, creating a sense of starting fresh without any changes to the settings. I'm going to switch it back to random just so it feels like we are beginning anew without any changes to the settings. Let's start by providing a clean audio WAV file again. Note that we can use a similar WAV file or voice as in Method 2. They are essentially the same, but let's use a different voice this time. Perhaps Gerald is suitable for this example.
You create this enormous pool of light around you all. So if you switch your light off and swim behind everyone else, the sharks can all see them, and it's really quite terrifying. Pretty cool. I love
Similar to Method 2, Copy the folder with the voice's WAV files inside and paste it into the location in Method 2 where the random folder was located. Once the voice folder is in that location, let's return to the text-to-speech web page. Ensure you press the Refresh Voice List button before navigating to the Training tab. The name of the new voice we want to train will now be available in the dataset source list. Why do we need to do this? The answer is that in Method 3, which we refer to as the most accurate voice cloning method, we are creating a new AI model. Take note that by training an AI model, we are essentially generating a new AI model. We are essentially generating a new AI model specifically for use with this voice. In other words, we are creating a new AI brain totaling 1.7 gigabytes of data for this particular voice. This data serves as the foundation for the new AI model, allowing it to talk like the provided voice, in this case, Geralt. Now that you understand what we are doing here, let's continue to where we are now. Check the Trim Silence checkbox to ensure that the silent parts of the audio are removed, saving time and processing power. Choose the AI model you want. What does this Whisper AI model do? It may be confusing, so let me explain. The Whisper AI model's job is to transcribe text from audio. Its purpose is to create a text file with the words spoken in a given voice. Since we are training a new AI model to learn how to talk like Geralt, we need to teach it by providing a text. Please continue watching to understand what I mean. Please avoid using large AI models if your PC has limited RAM. I have 24 gigabytes of RAM, so I can use the largest model. If you have smaller RAM, a tiny AI model is sufficient, especially if the provided voice is clear enough without requiring a large Whisper AI model. Once you have selected the Whisper AI model, press the Transcribe and Process button. You don't need to change any settings here. Everything is good to go. It is now loading the Whisper AI model to perform its one and only job, transcribing the audio into text. Let's fast forward the video and see what it does. As you can see, it transcribes the audio into text. Why do we need to do that? So that the new AI model understands what is being said in the provided audio WAV file.
You create this enormous pool of light around you all. You switch your light off.
As you can see, it has successfully transcribed the audio into texts. I will show you what I mean by that. As you can see, the Whisper AI model simply transcribes the audio into text. All the required files for training have been generated automatically. After this, let's go to the Generate Configuration tab. Click the Refresh Dataset List button and select the voice for training. Let's change the epoch to 50 or 60. The default of 500 epochs is already too much. I don't understand why 500 is the default here. Search on Google or Bing to learn more about what epoch means. And that's it. Those are the only settings we need to change here. Press the Validate Training Configuration button now, but only once. As you can see, it simply sets the settings automatically based on your system's capabilities. You don't need to change any settings here. In my case, I will set the worker process to control how many CPU cores the training should use. Since my computer has a 4-core CPU, I will set it to 4 to utilize all 4 cores in training. For the GPU, I have only 1, so I leave it at 1. Adjust this value based on the number of GPUs you have. Typically, most computers have only 1 GPU installed. Before I forget, the source model we're using is essentially the AI model from Method 1, and in Method 2, it's the autoregressive AI model. Why do we need to do this? Instead of starting to train a brain from scratch with zero knowledge of what a voice sounds like, we begin with an AI model that already knows thousands of different voices. Our goal is to train the same brain to learn a specific voice understanding how it talks and uses an accent. Essentially, we are making this particular AI model an expert at mimicking a specific voice, in this case, to sound like Gerald. That's all. Now let's press the Save Training Configuration button. This action creates a train.iaml file in the training folder, storing all the necessary settings. Leave it there, and let's start the training by going to the Run Training tab. Here, select the train.imll file generated earlier. Press the Refresh Configuration button to display it on the list. As you can see, it's the exact file we created earlier for Gerald. The only setting we want to change here is how many states to keep. Essentially, this is like autosave. In case of a power failure, you can resume from where you stopped, instead of starting from the beginning. In my case, I only want to create one autosave file. That's it. Now press the Train button to start the training. As you can see in the graph, it shows the training values. The lower the value, the better. A value of 0 means the AI has learned the voice perfectly, but perfection is elusive. The longer you run the training, the lower this value becomes, but there's a catch. The learning rate also decreases, meaning the AI starts learning slower over time. Leaving the training forever might make the AI perfect, but it's inefficient and resource intensive. So the trick is to stop the training when you see the green line starting to fluctuate, instead of steadily going down. The value may temporarily go up and then down again. You can wait for the training to finish, but in my case, I'll stop it for now to test the voice output quality. Once the training is stopped or done, you can choose the voice from the list in the Generate tab. Now, under the settings in AI model, things become different. Press this button first for the new AI model you just trained to show up here. As you can see, we now have a new AI model from Gerald. Always use the same AI model as the voice you select in the Generate tab. If you fail to choose the correct AI model, you'll only get a voice quality similar to method number 2. If you want a perfectly trained voice output, select the correct AI model here.
This is a showcase and tutorial on how to create speech from any text you type into this text box. Remember, there is no limit to how many characters you want to enter here, even if it's an entire book that you want to create a speech from.
As you can hear, the voice doesn't give the desired result yet, meaning we need to train the AI model more. If this is your case, I'll show you shortly how to continue the training from where you stopped earlier. To continue the training from where you stopped earlier, go back to the Training tab. At the bottom here, you can see a Reuse or Import Dataset button. Click this button so that the resume state path will be set based on the voice you set on the dataset here. After that, click the Save Configuration button again to update the train.iaml file to the current configuration. Now go to the Run Training tab to resume the training again. After the training again.
This is a showcase and tutorial on how to create speech from any text you type into this text box. Remember, there is no limit to how many characters you want to enter here, even if it's an entire book that you want to create a speech from.
As you can see, there is an improvement in the voice now.
This is a showcase and tutorial on how to create speech from any text you type into this text box. Remember, there is no limit to how many characters you want to enter here, even if it's an entire book that you want to create a speech from. This is a showcase and tutorial on how to create speech from any text you type into this text box. Remember, there is no limit to how many characters you want to enter here, even if it's an entire book that you want to create a speech from. This is a showcase and tutorial on how to create speech from any text. This is a showcase and tutorial on how to create speech from any text you type into this text box. Remember, there is no limit to how many characters you want to enter here, even if it's an entire book that you want to create a speech from. This is a showcase and tutorial on how to create speech from any text you type into this text box. Remember, there is no limit to how many characters you want to enter here, even if it's an entire book that you want to. This is a showcase and tutorial on how to create speech from any text you type into this text box.
I hope everything is clear, and I hope you like this tutorial. Before we end this video, I have a bonus for you. In this final part of the video, I will show you the technique I use for writing a prompt. Here's the list of rules that you must follow when creating a prompt. 1. Remove any break spaces in your prompt. 2. Give spacing if you want to read an acronym as a letter. For example, instead of CPU, modify it to CPU, or instead of GPU, change it to GPU, AI to AI to AI, GPT to GPT, so that the TTS will read it letter by letter correctly. 3. Do not use shortcuts like 6 GB. 3. Do not use shortcuts. 4. Remove any hyphen from a word that you want to read without pausing. For example, instead of text-to-speech, which will make the AI read it with pauses in between, change it to text-to-speech. GPT-4 to GPT-4 to GPT-4. 5. Change symbols to words. For example, instead of 6%, change it to 6%. 6. Change any period if you want to read it as dot instead of a pause. For example, instead of using installer.exe, change it to installer.exe. Change it to installer.exe.